What's going on, everybody? My name is C4. Welcome back to the channel for a new rebuild that has never been done before. A potential series, if you guys enjoy it. I am going to rebuild an entire division in one video. I am going to be rebuilding against myself. I am controlling all 4 teams in the NFC East. Even though I'll be controlling all 4 teams throughout this rebuild, every single year we will be controlling and featuring one of the 4 squads. So year 1, we're going to be with the New York Giants. Year 2 will feature the Washington Commanders. Year 3 will feature the Dallas Cowboys. And year 4, we will feature the Philadelphia Eagles. Year 5, we're going to retire from all 4 teams. We're going to sit back and look at all of our progress, our 4 rebuilds, and hopefully they'll all be peaking at the right time. And year 5 will be an absolute bloodbath. If this is a series that you guys do enjoy, let me and the algorithm know by smashing that like button. Would love to hit 1,000 likes. If we see that, that'll be enough for me to go want to do another division. Leave a comment in the comment below. I got 2 questions for you. 1, out of the Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, Commanders, which of these teams, if any, is going to win a Super Bowl? And 2, if we run back this series for another division, what division should we do next? So we need to set the groundwork here before we get into year 1 with the New York Giants. Let's take a look at all 4 teams and get an idea of where their rosters are at. Starting here with our year 1 team, the New York Giants, there are a couple issues, concerns that we have with the New York Giants. First is the quarterback position. Is Daniel Jones going to be the man that can lead this team back to a Super Bowl? I don't think so. I think the general idea here, as we control the New York Giants in year 1 and throughout this 5-year rebuild, is finding a new quarterback. So tanking's not the worst idea. It's something we need to take an eye on. Skill positions is also a concern, as there's not really much here in the wide receiver room that I think come year 4, year 5 of this rebuild are going to be big-time players. Darren Waller's the highest-rated player of the bunch. Where's he going to be in 5 years? He's going to regress. So getting weapons for an unknown quarterback that we have to go out and find is definitely a priority. I think continuing to build the offensive line. I think this is an offensive line that's a lot better in Madden than it is in real life, as Thomas, John Michael Schmitz, and Evan Neal all should develop nicely over this 5-year period. Defensively, we need Kayvon Thibodeau to start popping off. Lost his superstar dev. He's down there as a star dev. I think he's definitely still some upside there for him as a player, but we need him to pop off. I think Isaiah Simmons, Bobby Okereke, and Ojulari, I think we can definitely grow and build this linebacking core across the board. Dex Lawrence at nose tackle is going to be a key piece. I think both Deonte Banks and Xavier McKinney are going to be staples of this defense. I think we sprinkle in a little bit of more TLC in the corner room, maybe some youth added to the 3-4 defensive end spot. But generally speaking, I think the Giants defense doesn't need a lot of work. The issue and pressure is going to come on finding a quarterback and some reliable, game-changing skill position players, not named Saquon Barkley. We'll start with the Washington Commanders. This is a team that we're going to hop to and feature in Season 2 of this 5-year rebuild. And taking a look at the Commanders, there's a lot of good, a lot of bad. The good is generally the defensive side of the football. I do think we need to figure out the contract extension with Chase Young, which is going to be expensive. I have no real idea what the Commanders' salary cap situation is looking like. But for the most part, you know, their safety duo is good. Jalman Davis can lead that linebacker room. The defensive line is as good as you're going to find in a rebuild for a team that has some question marks about it. The secondary is solid, especially the addition of Emmanuel Forbes and Martin here, 2 hidden dev rookies. Definitely think you could probably flush out the linebacking core a little bit, but I don't think a lot of work needs to be done on the defense outside of just making sure we can keep paying these guys and retain them for all 5 years of the rebuild. Offensively, though, I like Sam Howell. I like Sam Howell at North Carolina. I've liked what I've seen out of Sam Howell. Obviously, he's had some brain farts, if you will, but he's essentially a rookie quarterback. You're going to see that. But for a 5-year rebuild, for Sam Howell really to become a quarterback that we think can lead this Commanders team to a Super Bowl, we're going to need to get him out that normal depth. So he's got to perform. He's got to show some chemistry with Scary Terry, Curtis Samuel, and Jahan Dotson. But I do think the weapons are in place that Sam Howell absolutely, at minimum, should be able to target going up a star dev, which would be a nice little kick in the butt for his development for the remainder of this rebuild. I think we're fine in the running back room. On the offensive line, I think Cosme and Ricky Stromberg can probably be here for the full 5 years, but that's still needing to find 2 legitimate tackles and a new upgraded center. Leno saw for the time being, but that's a guy that's just a guy. Eventually, he's going to start to regress. He's not going to be worth a contract extension. So I do think finding 2 tackles, I mean, we could move Sam Cosme back to tackle, play tackle in college. But I do think we got to figure out the offensive line here a little bit and get a legitimate game changer at tight end, which is easier said than done. But generally, like, I don't think a whole lot of work needs to go into the Commanders, but a lot of it does fall on being able to develop Sam Howell. We'll go to the Dallas Cowboys year 3, and it's the sake of this video. Dallas has one of the most overpowered, arguably the most overpowered playbook in Madden Sim. This is a Sim series. You can see Dak Prescott, I've seen him get 50 touchdowns. So I don't think a whole lot of work needs to go in here to the Cowboys team. I think when you look at the offense, you know, maybe the fact that Zach Martin and Tyron Smith, their highest rated linemen, are likely not going to make it the full 5 years. And Dallas is still, you know, predicated on having a good offensive line. I think we could easily kick Tyler Smith out to left tackle and be the Tyron Smith replacement. Probably like how it's going to be in real life. We're going to have to pay Tony Pollard. We're going to have to figure out how to pay CeeDee Lamb. Salary cap could be an issue, definitely, for this Dallas Cowboy team. But obviously, you know, having a really, really good playbook, I think that if we do start to lose guys, we could probably find role players that can excel here, at least in the offense. Defensively, Dallas are pretty good defensively. You got Mozzie Smith, the rookie out of Michigan, with a dev trait. You have Micah Parsons, who's one of the most unstoppable players in the NFL. Veterans like Tank Lawrence, Stephon Gilmore, Malik Hooker, and their safety duo that just no real worries about it. Terry Von Diggs and Deron Blaine in the secondary are legit. Damon Clark and Leighton Vander Esch are solid enough in the linebacking core. Like, I'm not really concerned whatsoever on the defensive side of the ball. I think Dallas, even more so than my beloved Philadelphia Eagles, are probably, at least on paper, my favorite to be the lock. If some team's going to win a Super Bowl in this rebuild challenge, it'll probably be the Dallas Cowboys, just because their playbook is so freaking good. Here for this video, we're going to feature my beloved Philadelphia Eagles, and the things going against Philly, they kind of have 3 things. 1 is they don't have the Dallas Cowboys playbook. 2 is that they're an expensive roster, and we don't really have Howie Roseman-esque tools to manipulate the salary cap like they do in real life to have such an expensive roster. And 3, kind of old. Philly is kind of old. If we don't win sooner than later, we're going to have to replace the Jason Kelce's, the Lane Johnsons. These are guys that retire within the first couple years of a rebuild. On the defensive side, you lose your Brandon Grahams. You lose your Fletcher Coxes. You have to pay and figure out what you're going to do with your Hassan Riddicks. Your secondary of Darius Slay and James Bradbury. Not overly optimistic that both those guys are going to be able to be there year 4 and year 5 of this rebuild. So I think out of all the teams, Philly has the shortest window. Year 1, year 2 of this rebuild is absolutely where I think if Philly's going to win a Super Bowl, it'll be during that time. Jalen Hurts got himself a big-time contract. You have A.J. Brown, who's got paid. You have the running back room, which is not under contract. Devontae Smith is going to need a new contract. On the defensive side, eventually, again, Hassan Riddick, gonna need to get a contract. You're probably gonna have to pay Josh Sweat at some point in this rebuild. Luckily, though, very optimistic that we are gonna see just an utterly dominant defensive tackle duo throughout this rebuild with the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Carter is a absolute superstar. Jordan Davis is incredible. He's everything that Dallas thinks Mozzie Smith could eventually develop into. So I think there is a lot of good with my beloved Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, not to mention the fact that eventually Nolan Smith's going to get on the field. And if you watched our Madden 24 Pink Slips franchise, you know just how dominant Nolan Smith can be when he gets on the field. So I love my Eagles. I would love to say that I think the Philadelphia Eagles could be a team that wins a Super Bowl in this series. It's just, Dallas is going to be tough to beat. I'm going to be rebuilding all 4 teams the exact same way I would rebuild if we're doing a solo video. You know, at the midway point of the year, we're going to decide if players are worth getting a contract extension or not. At the end of the season, we're going to look at player performance and dev traits going up and down. We're going to handle the draft and free agency the exact same way I would if I was just rebuilding the Giants by itself or the Cowboys by themselves or so on and so forth. And I think there's an opportunity to get really, really interesting in the offseason, be it the draft and free agency, when there is one player that would be a perfect fit for all these teams, for an example, in this division. I know for a fact, what if there's a quarterback, an S-tier quarterback that I need to trade up for? Do I trade up for them with the Giants? Do I trade up for them with the Commanders, especially if Sam Howell doesn't go up a dev trade? I think there's a lot of opportunities here for this to be a truly unique rebuild. But I do think featuring one team every single year gives each roster an opportunity to make an impression so that when it's the free-for-all year, year 5, and we have all these teams firing on all cylinders, being legitimate Super Bowl contenders, you will remember that one year that we featured that team a little. You'll remember that year that Bobby Okereke, year 1, got 6 interceptions, and now he's an X-factor, one of the best-rated linebackers in the league. You're going to remember that, versus if I was just rebuilding all 4 teams at the exact same time, and you're trying to pay attention to all 4 rosters at the exact same time. I just think there's too many players, that's too much information, but I'm always open to suggestions. Obviously, this is just a first of type video, but I think doing just one team per year and then the year 5 free-for-all is the best way to present it. But absolutely looking for feedback in the comment section below if we could do this one any better. But without further ado, let's get into year one with the New York Giants. At the halfway point of year one, here with the New York Giants, couldn't be any worse unless you're in the side that says the Giants need a tank for a quarterback, which I do think out of all the teams in the NFC East, Daniel Jones is not him. So we are going to try our best here, focusing on the Giants, to be looking at the quarterbacks in this year's draft class. Now, is there a bona fide stud? Well, we got 3 swings at it with 3 quarterbacks with top 5 projections, but as we've seen countless times, the projections means absolutely nothing. If we and when we fully scout all 3 of these players, there's a legitimate shot that they all end up being second, third round talent grades, and that top 5 projection means absolutely nothing. But, we'll try our best, and hopefully we get a great role, because it is looking like the Giants are going to be front runners for the number 1 pick. Mike Briscoe, left tackle, looks ridiculous, and if you've seen how bad the Giants line is in real life, that's probably not that bad of a pick. But generally speaking, does not look like the strongest of draft classes. It is contract time, only $57 million of salary cap as well, which is a little bit surprising, given that I do think the Giants are, again, I know there's probably going to be fans of every team in the NFC East watching this, and I am an Eagles fan, and I don't want to throw you on the bus. I don't want to enrage you, but Giants probably have the least talented roster in the NFC East. Maybe that's why Brian Daboll got Coach of the Year last year, because they were able to make the playoffs with not a great roster. But that being said, I definitely thought they'd have a lot more salary cap than $57 million. We got a lot of tough decisions to make. I think someone like Leonard Williams is going to be a wait and see. Still a solid veteran. Is he producing well? We are in a 3-4 front. Man, he's on pace for 20 TFLs, which is pretty decent, but he's 31, almost 30. I feel like we might be able to do potentially a little bit better there. Obviously, we start at the top end here with Saquon Barkley. That's their guy. I'm going to get Saquon here. I'm going to give him a 5-year deal. He needs to be the face of this offense for the remainder of the rebuild, and hopefully we land a franchise quarterback to pair with him. We have Xavier McKinney. I'm pretty much going to be giving everybody here at this point 5-year deals, because it is a rebuild where we're bouncing around team from team. So guys that I clearly want to stay on these teams and I believe will be able to contribute to these teams as they're peaking and becoming Super Bowl contenders. And I think both those guys fit that threshold. I also think Isaiah Simmons fits that threshold. Actually, how is he playing in real life? I will say that obviously Isaiah Simmons is a better player in Madden than he is in real life. But how has he been playing since that trade happened? I'm generally interested. Isaiah Hodgins, 24 with a dev trait. That's, not how hyped can you get about a player? Like I said, probably not overly hyped, but that's a solid, I'm thinking big picture. If we get a really nice wide receiving core, that's good. He'd be, come year 5, like a really solid wide receiver 3 to wide receiver 2. So I want him to be a party, but we are very much getting a little light in the butt cheeks here for total salary cap. I think Adoree Jackson, another player that, just because he is interested and isn't quite at his ceiling, is worth a contract. But I do think we're going to move on here for some of these veterans. Do we have any 5th-year options? We actually do not. So it's, $22 million. We'll get a little bit of influx at the end of the season. But I will say, very surprised with how little salary cap this bad of a roster truly has left over going into our first offseason. I also think at this record, this is usually where you would fire sale. Be like, all right, what kind of value can I get? Clearly, maybe there's some pieces that we can get that will be more long-term thinking. There's no one I could ship off. I would want to probably get rid of Daniel Jones, but no one's going to be trading for Daniel Jones. And anyone that is worth trading in the final year of the contract, just doesn't make a lot of sense that we get any value whatsoever for your Sterling Shepherds. I thought maybe someone like Darren Waller, but then there's such a jump off between 85. Even as Darren Waller regresses, he's still going to be a viable tight end for this offense. So from top to bottom, man, no real fire sale ability with this Giants roster. So we're kind of just stuck with what we got. And at the end of year 1, the big dogs, as expected, were the big dogs. Dallas Cowboys go 15-2. Philly goes 12-5. And both the Giants and Commanders losing out in the playoffs. Shocked. After an 0-7 start, we actually finished the season quite respectively and with the number 3 rushing offense in the NFL. Taking a look at the stats here for our beloved New York Giants. Daniel Jones, god-awful. That is one of the worst sim stat lines I've seen a quarterback have in Madden 24. And Madden 24 has some peculiar stat lines when all is said and done. 2,500 yards, 10 touchdowns, 13 picks. Luckily, or maybe unluckily, played ourselves out of the tank spot to get our choice of the top quarterback, if there even is one in this class. But we're going to need to go find a way to get one. Saquon is incredible. I expect this to be... I will say this, if I had to say something nice about the New York Giants, because this is our only year with them until we see everything kind of go free for all year 5s, I would hesitate to guess that of all the teams, the best single player, probably when all is said and done, is going to be Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is an absolute monster. Almost 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns. Pure ridiculousness. Not much out of the receivers, which sucks. But it's also just kind of what it is when your passing offense is that limited. On the defensive side, Cherokee and Simmons both going over 100 tackles, which is nice. We got 6.5 sacks, 19 TFLs from Dex Lawrence. Leonard Williams was a player that we said kind of wait and see. What do you kind of do for us this year to deserve a contract? Not great. Not bad. Not great. 16 TFLs, 3 sacks. I think we might be able to do just a little bit better. One of the positives is Deonte Banks has developed nicely. He ends his rookie campaign as an 81 star, which is really, really good going forward. That is a shutdown corner athletic freak for the Giants. I suppose we might as well look at the other squads quickly. We have the Commanders. Sam Howell played respectively. 23 touchdowns, 7 picks. Got 1,000 yards out of Robinson. No 1,000-yard receivers. Defensively, did anybody eat? Cody Barton had a lot of tackles. No real crazy sack numbers. You don't like seeing that out of Chase Young. Only 2.5 sacks. Kendall Fuller led the team with 3 picks. On the Cowboys defense, you got 4 picks from Gilmore. I'll tell you right now, we're not focused on the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to be bad. They have like $5 million of salary cap, and good luck. Absolutely good luck trying to re-sign any of those players. Micah Parsons was ridiculous, though. 78 tackles, 18 TFLs, 18 sacks. CeeDee Lamb went for 1,400 yards, 12 tutties. Michael Gallup, 13 and 15. 9 and 5 for Brandon Cooks. Rookie tight end with a hidden dev. Luke Schoonmaker, 700 yards, 6 touchdowns. I will say, though, ridiculous year, Tony Pollard. They have no money to pay Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is going to walk, and it's probably going to be the Deuce Vaughn show. But that is a absolute ridiculous season for Tony Pollard to have as he's about to hit the open market. 1,300 yards, 21 tutties, and then it's just, again, Dak being Dak. That's why we're doing the Dallas Cowboys a couple years down the future, because maybe it'll be a little more challenging when the roster isn't as good. And finally, with the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts was solid. 28 touchdowns, 8 picks, 3,700 yards. They got great production. You throw in the rushing numbers for Hurts, well over 30 total tutties, 11 and 15 for DeAndre Swift. 1,000 yards for Devontae Smith. Very disappointing season from A.J. Brown, not going over 1,000. Dallas Goedert were solid. Defensively, Nakobe Dean tackle machine, which is what we need to be. No sacks for some reason. Son Riddick only getting 3 sacks is ridiculous and unbelievable. Josh Sweat only getting 3 sacks is ridiculous and unbelievable. And honestly, with how well he's played this year, Jalen Carter has 5 sacks right now through 5 weeks. He's played 5 games. Finishing to see, I think they're underselling the Eagles' defense there just a little bit, but y'all know how it is. It is what it is. Dak Prescott, 41 touchdowns, 2 picks. That checks out. Looking at the playoff bracket for the other teams in this rebuild, the Philadelphia Eagles handle business in the wildcard round, 21-3 over the Bucs, as both the Cowboys and Eagles are here in the divisional round. Divisional round does not favor the Philadelphia Eagles in the battle of the bird teams as they lose to the Falcons 35-27. Dallas moves on 28-14 over Seattle. And surprise, surprise, when I asked you to comment which team will win the Super Bowl first, if you didn't say Dallas, you're an idiot. Wow, NFC Championship game, the Dallas Cowboys fall to the Atlanta Falcons. Desmond Ridder, the 6th seed, handle business, 17-14. Ridder 2 touchdowns, and Dak didn't cost them the game, which I would have bet that was what would have happened. Dak would have like 2 or 3 picks. They just couldn't stop Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson. On the defensive side, Micah Parsons got his. They got the only turnover of the game, but all is said and done. Dallas, not a bad pace car, though. First year of this rebuild, Dallas goes all the way to the NFC champ. Because, how do I grade this? Should I be excited that, the teams in the NFC, I haven't really had much of an influence yet in terms of a rebuild, but sure, at least it's probably better this way than going into year one and all teams, we only have one team makes the playoffs and losing the wild card round or something like that. We got some competitive rosters here. Also, just got to give credit where credit's due. It has nothing to do with the NFC East rebuild, but the Atlanta Falcons as a 6th seed going on, winning the Super Bowl. Pretty respectable. Holy. If they can do it, this 0-7 at one point Giants team can easily get their quarterback and turn this thing around As we also see, Dak Prescott is the MVP. Mike McCarthy, Coach of the Year. Classic Dallas. At the offseason first wave of retirements, Tyrod Taylor retires from the Giants, but easily the biggest loss as it stands is the great Jason Kelce retiring for the Philadelphia Eagles. Gives him a little bit of salary cap relief, though. We're the Giants, but just to show you how dire it is, because obviously Dallas are already being sarcastic, they have no salary cap to, like, re-sign any of their players. I think given his breakout season, probably worth, with their limited funds, to pay Tony Pollard. Psych! So the Giants, we currently have the 5th pick in the draft. Commanders have the 2nd pick. We might be able to put ourselves in a little bit of trade because Sam Howell didn't really play that bad for the Commanders, and Giants are desperate for a quarterback. And the quarterbacks kind of fell into place, like I said, even though you see top 5. I mean, this guy straight up lost his projection. He was top 5, I'm pretty sure, right? 2nd, 3rd round. But Brian Rudd does look fine. You know, top 5 in talent doesn't mean necessarily he's going to be a generational or anything. That just could mean it's a weak draft class, which it kind of did look like. A, deep accuracy. 8th throw under pressure. B, mid. Doesn't even have elite throw power. Yikes. Where's he going in the mock draft? Still not the final mock draft, but just get a vibe. We might just need to be hoping that there's someone really good in free agency at this point. He is going 3. So, I mean, not that crazy of a trade up if we need to. Our current mock draft has us going with Josh Spruce, double A, double B. 2nd, 3rd round talent, but actually looks decent. Has elite throw power and better letter grades than the guy that's a top 5 2 talent. And the top quarterback available is, I'll say this, probably realistic, is Kirk Cousins. And I do feel like Kirk Cousins, we just don't have enough money. He's looking for a 1-year, $30 million deal. We have $16 million worth of salary cap. So, I mean, on top of not being able to quarterback, we're not going to be able to be overly aggressive with the Giants. Which, I mean, we need to be because our roster's not that good, but we only have very, very little funds to try to fix this squad here. It's going to be a lot of, at least for the first year or two, especially with Daniel Jones's horrific contract. This is going to have to be a team that gets better through the draft, not being able to splash cash on the open market. So going into free agency, I can tell you right now, I just finished going through every single team. How I'm handling it is if they need a free agent, I'll go get it. Dallas has no money. Philly doesn't really have any money or holes. And the Commanders only need a tackle, and Tyron Smith's the only guy available, and that would put them in cap hell going forward. So, in terms of this, the big swing out of all the teams is actually at least here with our Giants, and that is Brian Daboll, formerly offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, trying to bring big play Gabe Davis over. The Detroit Lions have a competitive offer. I think we should have the inside track. However, I'm a little worried about that lack of interest initially. Detroit might be able to offer a little bit more, but if we don't get Gabe Davis, as you can see, we spent literally every cent we possibly could. The best offer. Come on. Who wants to go live in Detroit? Come live in freaking New York, okay? Wow, Gabe Davis chooses the Lions. I mean, DPJ might be a decent pivot for the Giants. At least this time, a little less competitive. Still a decent player, 25 years old, 81 with a dev trait. Would walk in to be our wide receiver 1 next season. There we go. The Giants get their man at wide receiver. Now, can we find ourselves a way to get that quarterback as well in the draft? So looking at the mock draft, Briscoe, absolutely looking at the Commanders. They need a tackle. That guy looks like he's probably the best player in the draft class, potentially. So I don't really want to try to screw ourselves over because I do think if we trade down, that Briscoe guy is not going to still fall to 5. So I think the question is just going to be how can we get up to pick 3 with the Rams from the Giants? Damon, I'm not getting this guy. This guy looks god-awful. Other teams in the division currently projected. The Philadelphia Eagles are looking at Virgil Goings. I can't say wide receiver 3 is a need for the Philadelphia Eagles. And we have the Dallas Cowboys currently projected to take a tackle, Trent Drayton. And in terms of their needs, no, don't need one. Maybe a guard because I think the plan is with Tyler Smith walking, they're going to be able to kick Tyler Smith out to that left tackle spot. Maybe they need to go find themselves a running back to replace Tony Pollard, or do we usher in the Deuce Vaughn era? A lot of questions for Dallas. That's a tough pick, but I'm sure they'll be fine. They're going to be good every freaking year because of the sim. Luckily for the Giants, we only had to deal with trading up 2 spots from pick 5. So pick 5 is worth a lot, so I just straight up swapped our 1st and 2nd round pick. Pick 5 in the 1st, pick 5 in the 2nd to get pick 3 in the 1st. to hopefully get ourselves a franchise quarterback that throws more touchdowns than interceptions. Bar has not been set particularly high from Daniel Jones. The first pick from our rebuild is the Commanders at pick 2, and we are very much locking in on Mike Briscoe at tackle. A awareness, A pass block, A run block. Brings in elite acceleration, agility, speed. Maybe the strength could be higher. Do like the fact that at his pro day, he was top 5 in the bench press, but this guy looks absolutely insane. What? Normal? This guy better be an 80 normal. Giants on the clock at pick 3, and it is time to swing. Trust the system, because my heart is saying this guy's better. Elite throw power, double A, double B, but the game's telling me this guy, fully scouting, using the mechanics, is the answer at quarterback. Don't suck. Please just be better than Daniel Jones, and we roll at least a hidden dev, which is better to say than what we did with the Commanders pick. Big-time athlete, 90 acceleration, 91 change of direction, 87 agility, does also have 90 throw power. I wonder what that base rating, though. I wouldn't be shocked if he's like 71, 72. I'm not expecting him to be, you know, legit QB1. Oh my God, we got a freak. But not that hard to be better than Daniel Jones. Now for my beloved Philadelphia Eagles at pick 28 in the first round, and I'm just going to be showing the first round picks, and then we're going to go back to the Giants to finish the offseason. Board looks terrible. I needed a wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I am not seeing... That's a lot of gross. A lot of like, nope, no thank you. So another need for the Philadelphia Eagles is to get younger at corner, which with Darius Slay getting up there in age, James Bradbury likely is at his ceiling, to put it politely. I think we just usually try to take advantage of what is strong, generated corner classes. And even though I don't like the value at all because this is a second round pick, he won't be available for the Eagles, and maybe it's a little bit of a reach, but he looks fairly solid here. Harold Favors out of Nevada. A-man, B-zone, B-press, C-catching. Ran a 4.3. Welcome to Philly. Roll the depth trait. Nice. And I think for Dallas, rounding things out at pick 30, are really in like a BPA type scenario. And that is where we're going to look at Dylan Orr at strong safety. Jaron Curse and Donovan Wilson, both. Curse hit free agency. Wilson's getting up there in age. I think they get younger at safety. So much like the Philadelphia Eagles, more of a forward-thinking role. Dylan Orr looks like the best player available with A hit power, B zone coverage, 6'2". Also ran a lightning-quick 4.36, almost top 5 in the 3-cone and 20-yard shuttle. Looks very much like a BPA normal dev. So that's 2 hidden devs, 2 normal dev picks. Not a great ratio, not a great hit rate. And because of the trade, we didn't have a pick until the 3rd round, and I think we just go with best interior lineman, and we could shift him out to guard, and that is Mitch Spencer, double A and a B here. Maybe a little light in the ass kick inside to one of the guard spots, but again, you can't be too picky when you gotta just fix the entirety of the offense, and we get ourselves a hidden dev lineman. I'll say this, for the Giants, my draft board's pretty much going to be depleted at this point, but with our 5th pick in the 4th round, needed to continue to improve at wide receiver. I'm looking at Jason Randall here out of Wisconsin. B catching, B release at 6'4", 230. Also brings with low 4.5 speed. Best vertical jump, 39 inch. Like, this guy looks obviously not the most twitchy player, but that looks like exceptional value. I think he's going to pull pretty good round. I guess 72. Could push, challenge Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson for some reps next season. Drum roll, please. I'm not going to lie. I'm very worried that this quarterback's going to be bang on average and just top 5 because the draft class sucked. That'll do. Ryan Rudd, 80 overall. Now, I have got excited with 80 overall players and had them roll star dev, so don't just assume because he has a high rating that this is going to be generational superstar and X Factor, but already infinitely better out the box with that new QB smell than Daniel Jones is. So I think we are going to be leaving the Giants in a much better place than when we started. I think if we could say that for every single team for our 1 year, kind of featuring them, we're kind of doing our job. That guy looks pretty good, across the board, good athlete, good accuracy, can make plays off script, which is nice. Spencer at center, 73. I'm just going to make him right now. We'll make him a guard. You know, he's a little bit on the small side. We're going to challenge him at that left guard spot, give the Giants a nice little dev trait player to play. You got John Michael Schmitz, Evan Neal, Thomas. You know, I think we become a nice little line there. And Jason Randall, son of John Randall, I'm going to assume 70 overall. Not bad value there as well to kind of close things out. Gonna look at the rest of the division. The Dallas Cowboys, Dylan Orr at safety. Even though he's a normal depth, 75. Not bad at all. Second round pick. They got Zion Jones out of Mississippi State, 74. Normal dev. Don't really need wide receiver, but I guess Brandon Cooks is getting up there in age. And they finished out with Nick Rivers out of Virginia Tech, 70 running back. That is pretty nice value there in the 7th round. The Commanders, Mike Britt, 76. Huh. Very surprising. I thought he was going to be the #1 true talent player in the draft. And ends up just kind of being solid. They got Dante Hammond in the 2nd round. 73 normal to be the backup to Brian Robinson. They get a 73 linebacker here, Jason Fulton, hidden dev out of TCU. And that could very likely be a long-term linebacker partner because we're about to take over the Commanders with Jamin Davis. They got Roman Wilson out of Tulsa, a 70 hidden dev wide receiver. So far, you could probably say the Commanders have had the best draft going forward. How about my beloved Philadelphia Eagles? They got Harold Favors, 78 hidden dev, the best value. And this was a guy who's projected to go 2nd, 3rd round. So we got ourselves some youth in the secondary that is getting up there in age with Slay and Bradbury. They got Quandre Irving. They needed a wideout to be that wide receiver 3. They absolutely found one here out of UCLA. 73 with a hidden dev. Pretty basic across the board. Good acceleration, I suppose. And they got Will Carruthers at running back, adding to that stable. 72 overall out of Penn State with a hidden dev. That is incredibly slow. 84 speed, but everything else does look pretty good. So I'd say probably, Philly and Commanders tied for the best draft. But as we close the chapter on year 1 here with the Giants, I mean, heck, best draft in terms of quantity, in terms of quality, in terms of positional importance, absolute home run for the Giants. Excited to see what Brian Rudd can do over the next 3 seasons. And here's how we finish with the Giants. As we wash our hands, we finish by giving them a new starting left guard, a new starting quarterback, and a new wide receiver 1 in Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think they're going to get it right. Generally speaking, I've played enough and simmed enough Madden 24 that the Giants eventually are good. It just takes them a little bit, and I think we put them in the place. I will be excited to see what this dev trade is for Rudd whenever he meets that threshold. On the defensive side, couldn't complete the project. You make an argument, strong safety, left defensive end, not the biggest strengths, but I think outside of 2 positions, the fact that this defense has most people that are going to be in place for this team, I think, when they're gearing up to be legitimate playoff contenders, we're leaving them in a really, really good spot. But now it is time for year 2 to move on to feature the Washington Commanders. So now we're into year 2 of this rebuild, and we are going to be sticking with the Washington Commanders. Taking a look at their squad from where they started. Still kind of the same deal. Didn't find an option at tight end. Got a player that I thought was going to be the highest rated player. Got a little bit of a meh. Still, 76 is not bad. It's also not great, but he's going to start at right tackle. We'll still get another year out of Charles Leno. I do think, skill position, not bad outside of tight end. Brian Robinson, Scary Terry's awesome. Jahan Dotson. They got Curtis Samuels, a versatile weapon. Woodson, hidden dev player in the draft, but the offense is going to stop and go as far as Sam Howell will take them. I was surprised off of the season last year as a normal dev player. Touchdown interception ratio was fine, but also, you need a little bit more to get that dev trade. I think getting Sam Howell even up to a star dev is going to help him that much more, but still 2nd-year player, 77 overall. Not bad, but in this world, you need a game changer at quarterback to go far. Still question marks. At least he wasn't as bad as Daniel Jones. Defense looks really, really nice. No weakness whatsoever. Does suck that Chase Young lost his dev trait last year. Didn't really perform up to expectation. He's still a 90 overall. Jonathan Allen, 93 superstar. Yeah, Kendall Fuller, who's probably at his ceiling, only going to start regressing, but you can still utilize that 88 and, let Emmanuel Forbes, 2nd-year player, let John Martin, 2nd-year player, let both these guys develop. And, when he starts to regress, those other guys are going to start reaching into their prime. Really good secondary, especially with the safeties. Linebacking core looks nice. They get a hidden dev linebacker in the draft in Fulton, so he's going to play with Barton and Jamin Davis. I think we're definitely going to be in store for a better record than the Giants, potentially. I don't know. This was the 2nd worst team in the NFL last year. Let's see if we can improve. At the midway point of year number 2, it's competitive. Surprisingly, that is an Eagles squad that really only lost Jason Kelsey and Brandon Graham for the most part. 2-4. Shocking, but take a look at this Commanders offense. A top 10 offense, number 4 passing offense. So that bodes very well for Sam Howell, as that's really the big player we need to focus on. I will say, though, we are 17 weeks in with the Giants. 7 weeks, so we'll say we're at 25 weeks. I've yet to get one breakout scenario for any player on the Giants, now on the Commanders. I don't know if they patched that in one of the title updates, but dev trade scenarios have been few and far between, especially last year. Sometimes it happens when you have a bunch of star devs and stuff, not a lot of normal dev players. But that wasn't the case with the Giants, and we didn't get one single freaking dev trade scenario, which is brutal. National focus here for the Commanders. Please don't say tight end's a weakness. It's not a strength. That's what we're gonna scout, though. We gotta help them get a tight end. Find them a Marcus House from the Cardinals franchise. That could be the missing piece. But with how they're playing right now, I'm very happy that Sam Howell and company are off to a really, really good start. Cowboys and Giants also there. Let's take a look. Firstly, before we focus on our roster, I do think it's worth sneaking a little peek at the Giants quarterback just to see what we left them. There you go. That is what we left the New York Giants with. We gave them an X-Factor quarterback. So don't say I'm making this video to be biased towards the Eagles. Eagles look like dog shit right now. And I got the Giants, maybe one of the most promising young quarterbacks in the NFL in Brian Rudd. And hey, we're learning things as we go. That player did not look particularly good from the letter grades we got. Did not have elite throw power. Was not ticking off really any boxes that made me think 80 X-Factor. However, we trusted the scouting, which scouted him as a top 5 true talent player. And sometimes you do get burned with that. Sometimes you do end up getting maybe a high-rated player, but no dev trait if you just trust the scouted grade. But more often than not, it is going to be something you can trust for the most part, and the Giants are absolutely reaping that reward. So let's look at our squad here. We have around $40 million of salary cap. Gonna need to decide who, what, where, why. So Jahan Dotson will pick up his 5th-year option. We just have so much depth at corner. Pains me not to extend a Canadian. We do need Sam Cosmi. You got to run your lineman into the ground. So we'll go player friendly. We'll get him for a 4-year deal. Bump that up just a little bit. 4-year, 30. Wants a little bit more. We'll come back to the table. Derek Forrest at safety. Another player. Really just don't want to let him walk. He was actually awesome in college at Cincinnati. Part of that really good Bearcat defense with like Sauce Gardner. And they had, they had another safety who was really nice. He played on the Chiefs for a little bit. And Kobe Bryant. I mean, just outstanding. So we are going to come back. We'll make sure we re-sign Sam Cosmi here. So they'll still give us around 24, 25 plus whatever we get in addition this upcoming offseason to potentially, splash quarterback again. Just Sam Howell is playing well, but I don't want to leave the Commanders with a massive question mark still at quarterback. Sam Howell does not finish out the season strong enough to get a dev trait, elevate this squad. You got to move on. All right, let's took 30 weeks. We have our first breakout. It is at wide receiver. I guess Jahan Dotson? It is. Jahan Dotson. That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, too, because your secondary option is in the slot, which maybe those guys are eating right now. But a chance against a 2-win Steelers team. Not only get our 8th win of the season, which keeps us right in the hunt for the division, which we get to move to 8-5, which might be a little bit better than some expected, even though we almost have a 90 overall defense. But a breakout for Jahan Dotson, unfortunately, don't make the most out of it. And this is exactly what when the webcam here, what I thought would happen year 5 and 6. So everyone in the division goes 11-6. I have never seen that at all. And I did not think we'd reach this pinnacle in year 2 of this 5-year rebuilding the entirety of the NFC East in one video rebuild. We end up finishing with a top 10 passing offense, which I think bodes well for Sam Howell getting off that dev trade. But my God, an absolute juggernaut of the NFC East, which is, that's good. That's where we need to be. Dak Prescott killed it again. Saquon Barkley, leading rusher. CeeDee Lamb, leading receiver. That is a whole lot of NFC East. Unfortunately, not the team that we're featuring right now. But look at that. Sam Howell, 8th in yards, 6th in touchdowns. Not a lot of interceptions, so I think we are at least going to be leaving the Commanders this year with an increased dev trait on Sam Howell. It's a really solid season. 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns for Brian Robinson. 1,200 yards, 11 tutties for Scary Terry. Jahan Dotson, absolutely 8 in the slot. And no real lack of tight end weapon really limited this offense any. So maybe that's not their biggest need. Jason Fulton, our rookie linebacker, led the team in tackles. which is nice. 12.5 sacks to Ron Payne, 9.5 from Chase Young, 7 from Jonathan Allen, 7 from Montez Sweat. Acceptable numbers across the board. Jartavius Martin with 4 interceptions. Love seeing that as well. I guess a very quick look at the rest of the teams in the division. Dallas is doing Dallas-like things, but definitely missed Tony Pollard in the backfield. Did not have like a breakout or anything like that from Deuce Vaughn. They had to just rely on their passing attack by him getting almost 3,000-yard receivers with CeeDee Lamb having a ridiculous season. They got 15.5 sacks from Micah Parsons on 20 TFLs, 14 sacks, 20 TFLs for Tank Lawrence, 3 picks, Trayvon Diggs, 3 picks for Deron Bland. Pretty good. The Birds, Philly, still just not getting any sacks for some reason, even though it's a really nice year from a D tackle. Devontae Smith, 1,200 yards. Just A.J. Brown, just... Why is Philly... Like, I don't know. The more you try to, like, just... Why is... Like, we need to be... Philly needs to be getting those Dallas numbers, too, with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They're just not. I don't know if I've ever seen A.J. Brown get 1,000 yards in the sim. But they ran the ball pretty well. A lot of rushing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts and DeAndre Swift, all with respectable seasons. And looking at the Giants, their X-Factor quarterback that we let them win 27 tutties, 13 picks. Not ridiculous, but obviously still not a great offense. Weren't able to fix the offense all in one year. Brian Rudd, though, is decent. Saquon, but it's always going to be the Saquon show. DPJ with a solid season defensively. Cherokee with 5 picks, 7 sacks for Thibodeau, 4 picks. Simmons, those linebackers firing on all cylinders. But we are here to focus on one team this year, and that is the Commanders and their playoff run. Speaking on the Commanders, to start off, we did get Defensive Rookie of the Year for Jason Fulton, so that is great going forward, as he should be the leader of this linebacking core, along with Jamin Davis. And we shift our attention to the Atlanta Falcons. They're a legit squad. They won the Super Bowl last year. Really good offense, top 10 offense, almost a top 5 defense. Let's see how this one kind of plays itself out. And why not? We'll grab ourselves a front row seat here. Appreciate each team's run as they make it. Opening drive, Atlanta does go up, but we respond, miss the extra point. That is showing a little bit of inexperience, if you will. Good teams don't miss extra point, and we just haven't got to stop yet. Giving up a touchdown every time Atlanta's touched the football. Down on pace to give up 70. Well, at least we have, we got out swinging it. That's a respectable second half. Stopped them from scoring every time they touched the ball. But, damn. Trending in the right direction. They were literally going from a team that had the number 2 overall pick in the draft to 11 wins, to making the playoffs, to at least making a somewhat competitive game in the second half against the defending Super Bowl champions. Ahead of schedule, I think it's fair to say, for Washington here in year 2 of this rebuild. Had a little bit of cannibalization in the wildcard round as we had the Giants and the Cowboys playing, but I'm very proud to say that our first focus team has moved on to take on the Falcons, and we have the Eagles taking on the Niners. But from having 2 chances to go into a Super Bowl to 0, as the Niners unrealistically beat the Eagles in the playoffs 34-27, and the Falcons are just an absolute juggernaut, 43-37, but not a bad for just Desmond Ritter's untouchable, but not a bad first year for the new X-Factor quarterback. I don't think this is the last time we're going to see the Giants go on a deep playoff run. The Chiefs end up winning the Super Bowl, so at least it's not the Falcons winning back-to-back Super Bowls, even though they've made back-to-back Super Bowls. But as far as the NFC East is concerned, having both the Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year is at least something to hang our hats on from awards season. We have very good roles in terms of dev traits. Sam Howell makes the jump from normal to a star dev. Scary Terry up to an X-Factor. Jahan Dotson up to a superstar. So you probably couldn't ask for a lot more out of year 2 for the Commanders offense. Defensively, Fulton, the reigning defending Defensive Rookie of the Year, is a superstar dev linebacker. And I don't think we had any other dev traits up, but still just a really, really good defense. Flirting with a 90 overall going into year 3 of this rebuild. Very surprising into year 2, there's no retirements. I thought Lane Johnson, Zach Martin, Tank Lawrence, like those guys get up there, but they're still coming back for year 3. Going into free agency, I'll tell you right now, Philly and Dallas both under $10 million with the salary cap. They're not going to be able to hit the open market, but we do have both the Commanders and the Giants looking to improve their squad with our first double bid. They both need a right guard. I think for us, it's going to be if we get a guard, we can kick Sam Cosmi back to right tackle. And I think that just gives us a stronger offensive line. Whereas on the Giants' offensive line, right guard, their current right guard is like a 67 overall. So Wyatt Teller, we both have easily the best bids. It's going to be very interesting to see how that one falls out. We got David Njoku as our other target, trying to get that tight end here in Washington. Even though he is 29, still should regress fairly well. So let's see how this all breaks down. I think we're gonna get Wyatt Teller. I think he'll come to the Commanders. So all eyes on Wyatt Teller, who decides to go to the Giants. Wow, Wyatt Teller. I mean, they're very similar teams, both playoff teams. Maybe the difference is the fact that Giants now have an X-Factor quarterback, but that stings a little bit. But luckily, the Commanders don't enter the draft empty-handed from free agency. They do get David Njoku at tight end. So with pick 21 in the first round here for our Commanders, I think we got to make the right call. Ooh, I actually didn't think this tackle would still be available as I did my scouting on the guards. I still think we go guard and kick Cosmi out to tackle, but now that tackle's available, maybe we just go tackle and keep Cosmi at guard. Pat DeVoe, 3 Bs and an A. Combine is fine. Again, not great value as well. We have Sal Bryant, but at 6'5", 310, he could pretty much play anywhere on the interior. Also, not the strongest. A double B, not bad. We scouted Caleb Stevens here out of the U, 3 Bs and an A, with a little bit better of a combine. 37 reps on the bench is nice. But taking a look at that left tackle, I did not think... I mean, we got 2 here that could be decent. Tom Norwell, B pass block, B run block, pretty good. 37 reps on the bench press, top 5, elite change of direction as well. Or we have Anthony Gandy out of Oklahoma. A awareness, A impact, who cares? The B run block's not bad. But this guy is a freak. When in doubt, go with the freak. Go with the freak. Hidden dev, let's go. That man is not 22. It's a little bit of reach for the Dallas Cowboys, but this is an offense that thrives and plays their best football when they have a running back, and the best running back, the best fit, is a second-round running back, but he has B carrying at 215, running almost a 4.2, 4.32 in the 40-yard dash. The 3-cone 20-yard shuttle are ridiculous. A reach worth making here. Dalton Saunders, there is your true Tony Pollard replacement for Dallas. Another hidden dev. Let's make all 4 of our picks hidden devs. Let's go. The Eagles on the clock could use a guard, aka just best lineman, because we can shift them into guard, or the best linebacker. And looking at who's available, we still have, obviously, some of the scouting that we've done previously. And I do think, was it the center that was the best? Caleb Stevens also. We just need a right... I'd be leaning towards Caleb Stevens right now with our top pick. Let's see what's available at linebacker. I don't think... sometimes you get a roll of like a first-round linebacker. Now, this guy, we got 2 guys that look like they could be better value in the next rounds. J.D. Weatherford, what do we got? A-zone, A-pursuit, 6'2", 220. Elite has elite acceleration, elite agility, still 4'6". The 3-cone and 20-yard shuttle are nice. Tim Johnson of Oklahoma State, similar build, A tackle, A block shed, elite speed. A little bit better, I feel like that one of those guys could be the athlete at linebacker that we try to bring in. I think we will go ahead and try to upgrade at right guard. We're going to get Caleb Stevens out of Miami. 3 for 3 with the dev trades. Let's go. Finishing up the first round with the Giants, they need a 3-4 defensive end. Easily their biggest need. Haven't replaced Leonard Williams after letting him walk. So we're going to do that. Let's see. What do we have? What do we work with? Well, at least we have a couple first round grade 3-4 D ends. Matthew Richard out of Oklahoma. B block shed. A tackle. Elite strength, which is pretty good. Everything else, though, doesn't look like a slam dunk. Ray Tucker out of Tennessee, kind of a similar build. But luckily, when you need a 3-4 defense, you can always look at the D tackles that are available. And we got some guys here. Trey Levins, ABB, and we got elite acceleration, great speed. All right, that guy is right now leading the pack. Telvin Mitchell also looks pretty solid. Elite strength, 41 reps, and he's not a no-say. He's barely over 300 pounds. A little more of an unknown. Look at this guy. Juan Whiteside out of Oregon. 6'6", 320, 3 Bs, and an A. Elite strength. Okay, there you go. I'm telling you right now, that's going to be the guy. There you go. There's your first round pick. We are going to get 4 hidden devs. Let's go. Congratulations, Giants. This guy's a monster. Absolute monster. Where's this guy in our Cardinals franchise when you need him? Well, over for the Commanders, I'm just going to... Those D tackles who we're looking at for the Giants, let's just go BPA. Trey Levins, the next best D tackle, get another hidden dev. But I'll be honest, after this, my draft board's pretty much a crapshoot. Doesn't have a lot of great day 2 picks that I'm seeing. As we finish our year up with the Commanders, this is how we leave them. We get Anthony Gandy at left tackle. He's going to kick over to right tackle, and he is going to be 73. I mean, not the highest rating for sure, but I mean 73 given the last time we drafted a tackle, it was what, 76 normal. I think we've left their tackles in a lot better spot. Levins at D tackle, 76 with a hidden dev. We also got a 73 tight end hidden dev as a success, because I mean Njoku is 29, so there's a chance you get something here in Hunter Gore. But 3 real solid picks, and again, much like the ending of the Giants year 1, I think we definitely left the Commanders in a better spot than when we started. The Cowboys, that's the team we're going to be jumping to here in year 3, had a very good draft as well, 3 deep. Dalton Saunders at running back, 77 hidden dev with 94 speed, 94 acceleration, 93 change of direction. What a pick. Might have thought it was a reach because he was 2nd, 3rd round grade, but that talent was undeniable. They got Timmy Wilcox in the 2nd round, 76 corner, which replaces Stephon Gilmore, who just hit the open market. And they finished up with Julius McKee on the offensive line, 73 with a hidden dev. So crushing the draft as always. My beloved Philadelphia Eagles got Caleb Stevens, 75 guard in the 1st round. He's going to be a day 1 starter there between Lane Johnson and Cam Jurgens. They got J.D. Weatherford, one of those linebackers we were targeting, 72. No dev. We did, however, get another one of those D tackles. We're just unfortunately not getting the great dev trait roles for the Philadelphia Eagles. And we finish up with a 73. So if you like 70s, that's good. But the lone dev trait, at least your 1st rounders has a dev that makes you feel a little bit better. Juan Whiteside. I think we've absolutely crushed the draft for the Giants so far. Getting an X-Factor, generational, potentially quarterback. Well, potentially is X-Factor in the 1st draft. 2nd draft, I think this guy also is probably not going to be a star, just given the traits that he possesses right now. We got a 71 D-end, who is a scheme fit in the 2nd round. 73 linebacker, which, just stings that much more knowing that Philly actually needed a linebacker. Giants, not so much, but they still get the better prospect. We got Keith Ryans, another linebacker with a 70 overall rating. He's really nice. Look, we got a 70 running back in this value in the 5th round. Chuck Cooper at a TCU, 74. An outstanding draft here. Almost everybody, the last pick, absolutely brutal. But anytime you have a draft where almost everybody is over a 70, that's got to be S tier. But it is now time to carry on our journey here through the NFC East. It's time for the Cowboys. So this is now year 3. We are with the Dallas Cowboys, the most overpowered team in all of Madden 24, not named the Kansas City Chiefs. Just as, it is in real life, right? You look at the current landscape of the NFL, and we respect what the Chiefs are doing in the AFC. But if you look at the NFC, screw the Eagles and 49ers. Dallas is easily the juggernaut, and it is accurately represented here in... I don't want to, this is not going to turn into a salty video. I'll say this. If you are a Dallas Cowboy fan, Madden 24 franchise mode, go buy it right now. Because Dallas is the team that just doesn't make sense, I suppose. Look at Dak Prescott, 41 touchdowns to 2 picks. 39 touchdowns, almost 5,000 yards. Both, just unstoppable video game-like numbers on offense in a video game. They got CeeDee Lamb, 98 X-Factor. Michael Gallup, Luke Schoonmakers up to a superstar dev at the tight end spot. The offensive line has maintained. We drafted last year hidden dev guard. Tyler Smith has successfully taken over and succeeded Tyron Smith at left tackle. And I do think the big get for us, and I kind of think going against Dallas, has been money. We haven't had any salary cap, couldn't afford to keep Tony Pollard, haven't been able to improve the team in free agency just because they're so tight around the budget. But it helps when you draft as well as we draft for them. And we got Dalton Saunders at running back, 215 pounds, 94 speed, 94 acceleration. This guy's going to be an absolute monster, and I think it is potentially going to put this Dallas Cowboys offense over the top to go on and win a Super Bowl here this season. Defensive line is solid, led by one of the biggest freaks of all time in Micah Parsons, and I can say that, as an Eagle fan. As an Eagle fan, right? If anything should be OP, it should be Micah Parsons. Like, if Micah Parsons was getting 20 minimum sacks I wouldn't even say anything, because, yes, he is that much of a freak. And hopefully we get to see that, a little bit of that production here this season. We got Trevon Diggs, Deron Bland. We got a hidden dev corner in Wilcox. with Wilson and Hooker, and Orr was our pick with them a couple years ago. Linebacking core 3 deep with Dev Trait, Leighton Vander Esch, Overshone, and Damone Clark. There's no real weakness to this squad. This absolutely is a Super Bowl contender coming from a division that every team had 11 wins last year. I expect it to be that competitive again, but I do think, looking at the landscape, knowing their playbook, Dallas should be the cream of the crop. This is probably going to be one of our best shots at winning a Super Bowl in this rebuild. Let's go. At the midway point of year number 3, and, generally not the worst records. Eagles 6-1, we're 5-2, 4 wins for the Commanders, 3 from the Giants. Maybe not as OP as it was a year ago, but still every team fairly consistent. Dallas right now, I'll say this after getting that exciting rookie running back. Did not expect us to have the 32nd rushing offense, but number 2 passing offense, a top 3 defense, which is not unrealistic. Dan Quinn runs a hell of a unit there in Dallas, but we need to continue this thing. We got to figure it out because oh my God, there goes our salary cap. We have to, literally above all, Damone Clark, Deron Bland. There's 2 starters that we're gonna have to replace, but paying Micah Parsons is, you look at that whole roster right now. You got CeeDee Lamb needs to eventually get paid. You got, Dak Prescott's contract's coming up sooner than later. Did they pay Diggs? I feel like they did pay Trevon Diggs, and unfortunately went down with the injury this year. But you could take literally any player on that roster. The single most important player for the Dallas Cowboys is Micah Parsons. So I can't even be upset. Like, oh man, I can't really keep the balanced attack here and keep the team stacked on all levels because we had to pay Micah Parsons. You have to pay Micah Parsons. Damone Clark and Deron Bland are just casualties of what you have to do. I'll bring things up as it comes interesting. Going back to the Commanders at this midway point, no salary cap room. We paid Scary Terry, and after that, we do not have money to pay Sam Howell and or Brian Robinson unless they get a gigantic influx. So that is definitely going to shake up this Commanders team in idea of making them a potential Super Bowl contender because Sam Howell's been solid. Can't pay him. Maybe restructure. We'll try to do everything we can to keep Sam Howell because I think he's clearly the guy here in Washington. At the end of year 3, our year with the Dallas Cowboys, we win the NFC East, go 13-4, the number 2 passing offense, the number 1 overall defense in the league. Look at the rest of the division. Commanders 11-6, Eagles 10-7, Giants 7-10. Now, within the context of I am rebuilding all these teams, if I was just doing a solo Giants rebuild, and after landing that X-Factor quarterback in the draft, we get 7 wins, I'd be very upset right now. But I'm rebuilding against myself. That's what I think makes this rebuild so interesting. I have made the Cowboys, Commanders, Eagles, Giants, they're all getting very close to flirting with a 90 base overall. Every year is going to be a bloodbath, and that's kind of the intention of it, and it's fallen out that way for sure. Dallas, though, however, leads the NFL this season. We get the first round bye, almost 4,800 yards, 32 touchdowns to 6 picks. Dak Prescott, 1,000 yards for Saunders. The rookie, 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns for CeeDee Lamb, 13-10 for Zion Jones, our slot wide receiver. Gallup almost got 1,000. Solid year from Schoonmaker. Defensively, Leighton Vander Esch, bunch of tackles. Micah Parsons, as advertised, 73 tackles, 18 TFLs, 15.5 sacks with 6 picks from Trevon Diggs. So really, every big-time player that you need to rely on kind of came through for us this season. Jalen Hurts, third in the MVP race. Dak coming in at number 7. That is very interesting. Dalton Saunders does win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to J.D. Weatherford, the linebacker for Philly. Jalen Hurts wins Quarterback of the Year. Dak Prescott up there as well with Brian Rudd, the X-Factor quarterback for the Giants at top 10. So no Sam Howell. Might not help his case for wanting to get paid. For the rest of the awards, Trevon Diggs wins DB of the Year. I think he's on Superstar, so that could be an upgrade for him. Potentially flirting with an X-Factor here in year 3. Just a quick look at everybody else. The Commanders, Sam Howell, not a great year. Not a great case to demand that he gets paid money, if I have to be completely unbiased. Chase Young had a decent year. Nothing too crazy. On the defensive side for Philadelphia, they're still not getting any sacks whatsoever. I kind of see what's going on. Why doesn't Philly's defense in Madden play like the defense in real life? Well, it's the inverse of why does Dallas's offense in Madden not play like how they do in real life. Sometimes I guess it's tricky for Madden to get those things. Holy, Jalen Hurts, no interceptions. Again, valid criticism. Jalen Hurts has 7 picks this year. I don't think he's, has a reputation to be a quarterback that even develops into a quarterback that finishes with an insane 28 touchdown to 0 interception season. Well over 30 tutties with his rushing contributions as well. That is a ridiculous season from Jalen Hurts. And quickly looking at the Giants, the bottom dwellers, I mean, their quarterback didn't really pop off. Saquon continues to be Saquon. They didn't have a dominant wide receiver. Still looking for that. And on the defensive side, much like the Eagles, no real pass rush. So, sucks to suck. The only pass rusher, apparently, in the NFC East is Micah Parsons. And I'm going to take it, at least for this season, as we get to kick our feet up and await who we're taking on here in the divisional round of the playoffs. It'd be fitting if it was another member of the NFC East. How did the wildcard actually break down? Philly lost. Wow. Okay. So the Bucks, interesting. So the only hope this year is the 1-seed Cowboys. I want to see it to believe it, man. Let's see what this Dallas Cowboy S-tier sim looks like watching it in the front row. Compete against a pretty good Green Bay Packers squad, but I want to see that 50-touchdown Dak Prescott that we all know exists. And we're not really seeing it right now. Getting skunked by the Packers 14-zip. Able to get a touchdown there before the end of the first half. We have a nice 2-minute drill opportunity to tie it up, which we do. Defense closes it out. 14-14. Everything to pay for in the second half with the NFC Championship game on the line here for the Dallas Cowboys. Green Bay, they don't have Aaron Rodgers. Is it Green Bay as a franchise that owns the Dallas Cowboys, or is it Aaron Rodgers? And I'm starting to get worried that it might be both. But we get a quick score here. Quick stop and a chance to potentially tie it and force overtime. And Dallas, Mike McCarthy, do what they do every freaking year in the playoffs. And that is underwhelming. And ultimately, man, you just can't let Jordan Love, who does not necessarily pop off in Madden, you cannot let him go for 4 tutties. Inexcusable. Well, at least for the Cowboys, we lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion in the Aaron Rodgers Bowl there. Jordan Love just absolutely unstoppable. And there's not a whole lot you can do there. But we will take the fact that once again, the NFC sweeps up in the Rookie of the Year noms. As Dallas gets one for the running back. Philly gets one for the linebacker there. But, you know, very disappointing. And I would never think to myself before this video came in my mind after eating a salad, having a nice shower, that this would be something that could be kind of cool and people might watch it. That I would want Dallas to win a freaking Super Bowl. But come on, Dallas, you're letting me down. We do leave Dallas, however, even though Dak Prescott is kind of regressing now at that ceiling. Saunders, they have an X factor at running back. Monster. You're welcome. They got Trayvon Diggs up to an X factor after 6 interceptions, getting defensive back of the year. You're welcome. And I think for the 3rd straight team, we have left them better than when we started with them. We're going to finish them out this offseason. We're going to help them with a big-time draft. And then it's time to go to the Birds for year 4. But damn, man, I thought absolutely had an opportunity to win the Super Bowl this year. Very disappointing. We do have some pretty big retirements, though. Darren Waller retires from the New York Giants. Darius Slay retires from the Philadelphia Eagles. This kind of works out because when I was handling Philadelphia's in-season contract extensions, I could not afford to pay Darius Slay. He was kind of the outside. Him and Brad Bear were the 2 omissions because I had to pay everybody else. And another year of Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson is not retired. Zach Martin, however, has. So that is a gigantic loss there for the Cowboys, but gives them an idea of where they need to go in this draft. Likely just a straight swap for Zach Martin's successor. I did try to come back here lastly, just because this is the big storyline across all teams, is what the Commanders are doing with their quarterback. I tried paying Sam Howell the least I potentially could. Wouldn't take him. I suppose we could, but are we franchise tagging him for $53 million? That's just not feasible. I think maybe best bet for the Commanders is sell all of your future picks and get the best quarterback in this draft. I will say across the board here in the NFC East, there's not going to be any big movements in terms of free agents. The New York Giants are in the red by a little bit. They're going to need to make some cuts to even field the team next year. Both Dallas and the Philadelphia Eagles have under $10 million. And for the Commanders, they just need a quarterback. And looking at the quarterback market, clearly Sam Howell's the best. And I mean, sure, you could try and go with like the Aaron Rodgers route potentially, but I do think that we're going to do what's right for the Commanders. If I was actually just making a solo dolo Commanders rebuild, I'd just be going all in, selling the farm to get whatever the top quarterback is in the draft and hopefully get a role like we did with the New York Giants where they get themselves a new X Factor. So, a little bit boring on that front, but we are going to go towards a draft where hopefully all 4 teams can get a lot better there. So for the Commanders, just to highlight, because they have the biggest hurdle right now this offseason, which is replacing the quarterback. The top quarterback, Damian Staley, looks solid, does have elite traits that we're looking for. He currently is projected to go at pick 4. That is where they need to trade up to. And obviously, I'm just going to pay whatever the Chicago Bears are looking for. They're looking for 3 first-rounders and a future 5th-round pick. Absolutely. And with a 4th pick in the first round, trading up, the Commanders trying to find someone that can not only replace Sam Howell, but get them to a Super Bowl within the next 2 seasons. Select, out of Louisville, Damian Staley, who, I mean, outside of the dev trait, 95 throw power is pretty damn good, 85 acceleration, but that is, I mean, you're going to have to be an 80 overall for this not to be a brutal pick. 3 first-round picks for a normal dev. For the Giants, their biggest need is 3-4 defensive end, and I think we've identified probably the best athlete, which is usually the role all things considered here, and that is Lance Calhoun, who runs a 4.9, put up 41 reps with elite strength, and we get the dev trade. He will convert to a defensive end. Play on the other side of Dex Lawrence. For Philadelphia, I think they're kind of a complete roster right now. I just look at where's the regression going to start coming from, and they just haven't had any pass rush. And Hassan Riddick's 31. So we have someone here that actually is outstanding to be available at pick 20. Connor Jenkins, very one-dimensional, sure. A finesse move, B tackle, but look at the athletic profile. Great acceleration, elite change of direction, elite speed. First in the 40-yard dash, first in the 3-cone, first in the 20-yard shuttle. Stud. That's usually a player you see that's going in the top 5. For him to still be available at 20, we'll take that every damn day for the Eagles. And for the Dallas Cowboys, we need to replace at right guard Zach Martin, and we actually got a nice roll of a first-round projected guard. However, we have no information on him, which kind of sucks, even though it does, I guess, tell us that he's a top fit. But athletically speaking, if I have to blind pick a player, I'm going to take one that looks like this. It has the best athletic traits, elite strength with over 40 reps on the bench press. Fairly confident this is going to be a very good player. No dev trade. Damn. Linemen are the worst. It's an unsexy pick anyways, but when linemen don't get a dev trade, knowing that it's such a small margin for them to go up dev trade at any point in your franchise mode, it's like a double whammy. Any other position outside of like kicker, punter, even I would say kicker, punter is not that hard to get kicker of the year. It is sometimes literally doesn't even make sense who gets awarded offensive lineman of the year. Therefore, I think it's very valid to say it's the hardest position, and there's 5 of them to get a dev trade, so that's, he should still be a good player. Our draft recap, starting with our Dallas Cowboys, where we fell a little bit short in the playoffs, lost a team legend in Zach Martin. I think we did it, if there was a better dev trait there, we would say we did an excellent job replacing Zach Martin, but still, anytime you get a 75 overall rookie, you can't be too harsh, can't be too critical. We also got a couple other 70s. We got a 73 D tackle, Nelson Ellington, nose tackle, one of those juicy guys that are always real good. We got Sherman at safety with a hidden dev. So, I mean, a stacked draft class all said and done there for the Dallas Cowboys, even though you would ideally hope that quarterback rolled a dev trade. Speaking of dev trades, we get Damian Staley after making the big trade up with the Commanders. And it's unfortunate to say likely ends the Commanders' chance of going on and winning a Super Bowl in the next 2 seasons. Couldn't afford to pay Sam Howell. Probably shouldn't have paid Sam Howell for the production that he gave us. Just got a real bad roll of the quarterbacks. Wasn't a great QB class. We did get a couple other 70s. I guess just big picture, was it a good... What other QBs went? Brandon Grant out of Michigan State. He went, but again, we're going to see some dev trades, but they're star devs. Again, minimal level of dev. And there you go. There's a superstar. So there's the guy we should have drafted. Quarterbacks are not fun to pick blindly. I mean, I did my scouting guide, and I was like, that's one of it's very unforgiving because there's just so much margin for error when just blind picking a quarterback. And we still got one with a decent rating, I suppose. We'll take a look at the Giants next, where they got Lance Calhoun, 76 with the hidden dev. Now, to help them out a little bit, we're going to move him right now to defensive end. So it's just less work for me to do once we start editing the depth chart. So he goes from 76. That's a little bit of a hit, but still not bad. They got Dijon Roberts at tight end to replace the retiring Darren Waller, who, again, kind of just a guy. But you know what? For 270 pounds, which is a bigger tight end, like a lot of times you'll see like tight ends that get generated, they're like 6'3", 240. 6'6", 270, come with 86 speed, 87 acceleration. There's definitely a player there. Definitely wish he rolled a dev trait. And lastly, we'll take a look at our Philadelphia Eagles, the team that we're going to take over here for year 4 of this reboot before it gets to the year 5 free-for-all. And they had a hell of a first couple picks here. They got Connor Jenkins, that ridiculous athlete at pass rush, who's not going to play right away, more of just cover for, you know, if things take a turn with Hassan Reddick. Got to figure out how to get a pass rush here at the Philadelphia Eagles. We got a 74 corner, Clint McDougal, with the retirement of Slay. We got a 76 hidden dev linebacker here, late. Oh, I was gonna kind of hope like maybe this is one of those guys that gets a role that he's a pass rusher, but you know, another guy that just solidifies that linebacking room. We got another defensive end, Marco Delgado, with a dev trait. So that is actually an outstanding class. You can make the argument Philly had the best class out of all these teams, and well, we're taking over for the Eagles here in year 4. Let's go, Birds. And after a year with Dallas, I can finally cleanse my personal palate here by going to my Philadelphia Eagles in year 4 of the NFC East rebuild. Taking a look at the Birds. Outside of the fact that they just are not good simming for some reason, outside of Jalen Hurts, who's now a 98 X Factor, we've lost all the dev traits on A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, all their abilities. Which is annoying, but I mean, the talent is still obviously there, undeniably there. DeAndre Swift's up to 94. We still have Mailata, Dickerson, Juergens, and Lane Johnson on the offensive line. Replaced, Kelsey, I guess, in a way by shifting Juergens from right guard to center. We drafted Stevens, Dallas. I mean, there's no holes on this offense. This is a complete offense. The defense, also, you can make the argument, a little bit complete on the defensive line here. We got Sweat, X Factor in Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, 83 superstar, and Hassan Reddick there. Shocked that this has been a team that just cannot rush the passer for some reason. But, you know, we also have Nolan Smith, who can be like a little bit of a hybrid rusher. We have Dean Weatherford, like a lot of depth at the linebacking room. We got Sidney Brown, who's up to a superstar dev, which is awesome as a Canadian and as a Philadelphia Eagle fan. A little bit of a double whammy that he has thrived the way that he has so far through 4 seasons. Secondary is a little bit of a change-up. We have a superstar corner in Favors, but there is no more James Bradbury. There is no more Darius Slay. So it's a little bit of changing of the guard. The second, we still have Isaiah Rodgers, who's a slot corner. You got Keely Ringo on the outside. And we have Favors, who I remember he's built like a slot. Yeah, 5'10", 193. What are the hops, though? Can he jump? 91 jumping. So that's like a combo. Like, this guy can play on the outside as well. So this is very similar to Dallas, where expectations, talent-wise, this should be a Super Bowl favorite. But will they actually play up to their standard? Well, we'll find out. My expectations are, it's still probably going to be the Dallas show, but this team's at least good enough to come second place in the division, which should be good for maybe the 2 or 3 seed in the NFC overall. A little bit point of the season, and this is a little bit of like the inverse of what could happen. I think ideally you think of this like I'm controlling all 4 teams. I should have 4 contenders, 4 teams that give me 4 swings at making a Super Bowl, which is true. But the other side of that is like this also is going to be a challenge that we can kind of cannibalize ourselves. Every team is so good that for 6 games a year, you're going up against arguably the other best teams in the league. Therefore, if you have, especially early on, most of your games are against the division, outside of the Commanders, who obviously we whipped on the quarterback, Dallas, New York, and Philly, all 3 of the highest rated teams in the NFC, you're going to be splitting a lot of games. So that is not going to lead to a particularly sexy record, as you can see by the standings right now. Taking a look at the Eagles. As it relates to contracts, guys, we need her for the 5th and final year, but we're trying to put our best foot forward. Wow. We are not going to be able to keep everybody. We're going to start Jordan Davis, very important. We'll give him a 3-year deal. I think Sidney Brown would be, actually, let's be honest. I think Sidney Brown makes the most sense going long term, but you got to just, you can't, I mean, A.J. Brown has not gone even close. I think the highest year he's had is 800 yards. But also, you can't let a guy like this walk. Here, we'll pay Sidney Brown right now. And then come the offseason, we'll just restructure some contracts to get A.J. Brown's new contract across the line. And we finish year 4. Philly gets the first round. I mean, they should be getting the first round by 96 offense, 92 defense, 92 overall. The number 3 offense in the NFL, number 2 defense in the NFL. We also have the Giants and Cowboys putting up big years. Commanders kind of on the outside looking in, but again, after we whiffed on that quarterback and the whole Sam Howell situation, it was likely going to be a down year for them, even though, you know, their everything else outside of quarterback is in place. Dak Prescott's the leading passer. Saquon's the second leading rusher. CD, second leading receiver. Heaven forbid the Eagles get anybody good outside of like Jalen Hurts just doesn't throw interceptions, but that's the nature of the beast. And I will say right now, from here on out, I'm not going to complain about the Cowboys playbook because I should have, in the very beginning of this video, given all 4 teams the Dallas Cowboys playbook. And that way there, it would have eliminated any randomness, any favoritism, and it would have been players. Who has the best players? Can't do that now. We're going to embrace trying to win in different ways. And Jalen Hurts, 31 touchdowns, 5 picks on 3,700 yards. Pretty nice. DeAndre Swift, 1,300 yards, 18 touchdowns. He has been incredible. Good rushing numbers from Hurts as well. Over 1,000 yards, 15 touchdowns for Devontae Smith. A.J. Brown, just, again, what would Devontae, A.J. Brown, and Jalen Hurts look like with the Cowboys playbook? What would Sam Howell, Jahan Dotson, and Scary Terry look like if we were utilizing the Cowboys playbook there? And obviously, whatever the Giants quarterback with the X Factor, what he would do with their weapons. Should have done that. Damn it, I should have done that. Defensively, Jacoby Dean and Weatherford both go over 100 total tackles. We get 10.5 sacks, 14 TFLs from Jalen Carter, which are ridiculous numbers from a defensive tackle. Hassan Reddick, struggles. You have to get really off the mark here for a guy that's probably always in his prime. Going to be pushing double-digit sacks at minimum, if not getting like 15 as the cutoff, which is a little annoying. Didn't get huge interception numbers. Commanders didn't make the playoffs, so everyone else that did make the playoffs, Dallas, who we just played, we had a ridiculous season for Micah Parsons, 25 TFLs, 21 sacks. A ridiculous season with both CeeDee Lamb and Zion Jones going over 1,000 yards. The running back, not so much. Dak Prescott killed it again, 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns to 6 picks. And the Giants are back in the playoffs. Their X-Factor quarterback not playing like an X-Factor quarterback at all. It's absolutely still the Saquon Barkley show with almost 1,900 yards from scrimmage, 21 tutties. Isaiah Hodgins going over 1,000 yards. And on the defensive side of the ball, Kayvon Thibodeau just, again, not getting, and leaves, at least in terms of the talent, man, underperforming across the board for the Giants. But we are focusing on the Philadelphia Eagles, your 1 seed in the NFC this year. But I would love to get on opposite sides of the bracket when we go to the next round. Like, let's at least, like, there's 100% going to be an NFC East team in the championship game. That's where we need to try to get to. We match up against the Falcons in the divisional round, looking at how the rest of the playoffs kind of fell out here. So the Cowboys didn't even make the playoffs, but the Giants handled business 24-16 over the Panthers. So the last time that there was a scenario like this, where we had an NFC East team on either side of the bracket, we both lost, and the championship game was the other teams. Hopefully we have a little bit different fortune here today. For our matchup, we get the Atlanta Falcons, who are very good. They've won the Super Bowl and have gone to 2 Super Bowls in this rebuild. So it's not going to be an assumed victory, even though we have a lot more talent. It ends up being a Eagles-Giants NFC Championship game. 1-point victory for the Giants over the Packers, 32-31. Decent, respectable victory for the Eagles, 24-16 over the Falcons. But you best believe we are getting a front row seat to see who's going to go on to the Super Bowl to lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a big one. Super Bowl on the line. Our first chance at getting an NFC East team to a Super Bowl. Guaranteed. Be it, I would obviously love it to be my Eagles. But if it is the Giants, we got to take off our homer hat here and just appreciate that one team has got there. And it is the team that we started this whole rebuild with. The team that we drafted and left an X-Factor quarterback to succeed Daniel Jones with. But in terms of pure talent, I do think the Eagles are a stronger team, more well-rounded team. We have the better quarterback in the battle of X-Factors, as Jalen Hurts is an X-Factor, but it is a very high-scoring first half. And I would think the Eagles' defense, that is not how they're going to want to win this game, because the Eagles' defense, I think, is the big swing of momentum here in terms of talent. 35-31, an all-time classic. It is 4th and 3. The Giants go for it, get the conversion, get the touchdown, and it's 2-minute drill for the Eagles to get to the Super Bowl. And it looks like with 30 seconds to go, barring a miracle, the Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni and company, an all-time classic. Full kudos, because it takes 2 to tangle to win this kind of matchup. Brian Robb, the X Factor, gets 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts, the X Factor, goes for 380, 4 total touchdowns, plus whatever you like. Where's that in the sim? Jalen Hurts does not play like this when I just sim from point A to point B. Clearly, it is reflected by his numbers, but an outstanding performance from the Philadelphia Eagles, and they likely earn the right to lose to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but we'll try our best. And it is that inevitable matchup, rematch from last year's IRL Super Bowl, the Eagles and Chiefs, where the Chiefs bring the number 1 offense and 17th defense. Philly brings in the number 3 offense, number 2 defense, where I'm sure that number 2 defense is going to do absolutely nothing here today, like it did against the Giants, and give up probably 40 points. But if we do win, we do know it is because our team is a better team. Things played out as they should. And of course, it's the Eagles. Even though many people, I guarantee, I asked you guys in the very beginning, which team's going to win it. Probably most of you went with Cowboys. I was going Cowboys. But for anybody that has the Eagles, this one is potentially for you. We are in the Hard Rock Stadium. And I'm not going to mind. Carry on. I was going to make a wiener joke. But, I'm a father of 2. I got to hold myself to a higher standard. Let's go! Chiefs score first. Philly goes right down the field, scores again. Looking like it's going to be all-time classic. No defense being played, even though we have one of the best defense in the NFL. And the Chiefs' defense is completely pedestrian. I'm sure they're going to just find a way to stop us, because that's just what they do. And we have 7 measly points going in the second half. Get a touchdown there, but it is all Kansas City Chiefs as they are inevitably looking to drop. It was a 40 bomb. And these, if we round it up, the 20th ranked defense comes out of nowhere to magically play like an elite defense and stops the Eagles' offense. We said it. I wish the memes weren't true, but if you play the Chiefs in the playoffs, you play them in the Super Bowl, it's just what they do. It's just what they do. And I almost feel like you could take like the who's who. You can make a super team between the Eagles, Commanders, Giants, and Cowboys. Still probably got to lose to the Chiefs. As we close out year 4, a season with the Philadelphia Eagles, we do end with Devontae Smith going back up to a superstar dev. No one else up or down. Hopefully Lane Johnson avoids retirement this year, so that the Eagles are going to be able to hopefully run it back in year 5. And on the defensive side, I don't think any other dev trade, outside the fact that Verdon, that 3rd-round pick linebacker, popped as a superstar dev, which is nice. And Isaiah Rodgers finally gets a dev trade, better late than never. What is he, like 30? Almost 30, but playing the best football of his career, which is good for the Philadelphia Eagles. And lastly for the Eagles, we're going to try and give A.J. Brown big-time offer, which we do. However, it leaves us with no money, so we kind of are going to have to replace Keely Ringo. But the big one is Hassan Riddick. I think in this case, it's going to be finally better late than never. Nolan Smith's time to kick down to defensive end and see if he can succeed. Hassan Riddick, who hasn't exactly lit the world on fire and underperformed, honestly, as an 88 to 90 plus superstar dev edge rusher. The good news, the good roll is going into the 5th and final year of this NFC East rebuild. Now that we're not really staying with one solo team, it's every team for themselves. No retirements, so pretty good, especially looking at some of the older players. Most importantly, I would say right now is in terms of starter, Lane Johnson, maybe Jonathan Allen for the Commanders. And for the final free agency, most teams right now, we're just trying to tap out the remaining salary cap. Honestly, Philly's the only team that we can't really be aggressive with. So the New York Giants go out, and this is going to be for right tackle to replace Evan Neal, who let that walk. They're going to bring in the veteran David Bakhtiari. We got 1 year left of the rebuild. You're not going to do a whole lot better than Bakhtiari in that spot. As you watch Evan Neal go to the Texans, we have Hassan Riddick leaving the Eagles to go to the Cowboys to be the upgrade successor, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, it's a Band-Aid at this point. He's a veteran for Tank Lawrence, who they let walk. So that adds a little bit more tension to the rivalry. Outside of that, however, we got Matt Milano going to the Commanders. They need a new starting middle linebacker, so he's going to be able to shift inside there. And that will do it for the NFC East signings. Here's how the final draft looks like for all of our final teams. The Philadelphia Eagles go to address the offensive line and get themselves a 74 hidden depth guard, Jeremy Newby, out of South Carolina. This is to obviously bolster up the interior, maybe get some potential successor for Landon Dickerson. The Dallas Cowboys go and get a weapon in Tyquan Stanley out of the U. Normal dev didn't get a great role, but clearly are identifying his big-time playmaking speed. They also get another very valuable wide receiver in the 3rd round, Ahmad McKinley out of Georgia, who pulls in a 74 hidden dev rating. Holy shit. 6'8", 233 pounds with 91 acceleration, 95 jumping. I've seen these guys on Twitter. I've been tagged in prospects. It's the first one I've actually seen in a video. Good God. The Commanders need it probably out of all the teams. It's the only one that didn't make the playoffs, or at least was a playoff contender. The best draft, and they, with no first-round pick because of the quarterback trade, still get great value. Get a 6'1" corner here out of Notre Dame, Keith Ingram, who pops with a dev trade, big-time height, weight, speed. They get a 73 guard here, DeMarcus Mays in the 3rd round, and they finish up with a 74 running back. They get some very nice power depth behind Brian Robinson there in that backfield. So easily the Commanders are winning right now with their draft class. The Giants have anything to say about it? Not really. Very top-heavy draft class for the Giants, but in the 1st round, hit on a corner here. Alexander Harris out of Oklahoma, 76 with a hidden dev. So no one really had a bad draft, but you know what? Shout out to the Commanders. They needed the best draft, and that's what they got, on top of landing Matt Milano in free agency. Here's our final show the work for all 4 NFC East teams, starting with the Philadelphia Eagles, who are an 89 overall, able to really maintain the offense that we started with. Didn't really have to ever really find much in terms of replacements. Sure, we never got a true successor for Jason Kelce, but we've been able to kind of shuffle around the offensive line, and we've definitely got a great role by Lane Johnson not retiring. I've seen him retire like after 3 years. The fact that he gave us a full 5 and probably still has yet to give up a sack is exactly what we kind of need, the kind of motivation, kind of determination. I will say the bummer of the Eagles has just been the lack of, realistic number. Like A.J. Brown's yet to go over 1,000 yards. He's literally the 2nd most productive wide receiver in the NFL right now in real life. Just kind of, is what it is. Jalen Hurts has had some ridiculous seasons, headlined by a 28 touchdown, 0 interception season. So I say 99 X factor. As long as he's the Eagles quarterback, I think he can take this team pretty far. On the defense, a big change up going in year 5 with Hassan Riddick going to the Dallas Cowboys. Therefore, it is now an avenue for Nolan Smith to finally not play niche edge rusher linebacker, but to just straight up be an edge rusher. Now, we've seen firsthand in Pick Slims what he can do as an edge rusher. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat gives the Eagles the best defensive line out of any team. Honestly, probably the best front 7 out of any team in this division, which they're going to need that, coupled with Jalen Hurts. Safety duo is solid, even though Sidney Brown at one point was a superstar, down to a star. Still a big-time player in the secondary. Is legit. I mean, I think we've done a great job. There is no weakness to this Eagles team. They should be Super Bowl contenders. The Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott regressed a little bit. I think that's something more so to do with his age, but he lost his X factor down to a superstar, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal because it's the Cowboys playbook. I think they're going to be very competitive this season. They have an X factor in CeeDee Lamb and Saunders, the running back that we drafted for him. Schoonmaker did lose his superstar dev, but still more than capable of being a legitimate tight end. Offensive line, maybe not the great offensive line that we come to expect for peak Dallas Cowboys, like the last time they were really dominant in real life, but still not a brutal offensive line, headlined with 2 really solid tackles in Terrence Steele and Tyler Smith. The defense for the Dallas Cowboys could make the argument. Maybe they're the 2nd best, in terms of star talent, maybe the 2nd best defense in the division. They added Hassan Riddick, poached him from the Philadelphia Eagles. You got Mozzie Smith, you got 99 Parsons, 96 Diggs. Those 2 alone just give them ridiculous playmaking ability across the board. Safety duos are fine. Linebacking core is solid, led by Damone Clark. I think, again, Dallas, as an 86 overall, should also be considered a Super Bowl contender. Commanders are looking to bounce back. They were not particularly good. We kind of botched the whole quarterback spot here with the Commanders, letting Sam Howell, I don't know if it's fair to phrase it as we let Sam Howell walk. Sam Howell kind of wanted $160 million and was not putting up big-time numbers, so decided to go for a quarterback, was aggressive in trading for the quarterback. He just, unfortunately, wasn't particularly good. So we're going to need to see the Commanders kind of shock the world here. Got good skill position spots, offensive line. We'll kick Weldon here at center. Not bad offensive line, like not that far off of, say, Dallas. Skill position spots, Scary Terry's a 93, Jahan Dotson's a 91, Brian Robinson's an 87. So you could argue their skill positions is definitely a strength of the squad and should elevate the quarterback play. Defensively, still as good as any defense. The front 7, honestly, now I'm looking at it, this front 7 might be better than the front 7 we got with Philly. So we might have to give the slight edge there. Their secondary doesn't really have any weaknesses at all. Forrest 86, Curl 91. They have an X factor here in Chambers, Kendall Fuller, Forbes, and Martin. yeah, I think there could be a case made. They're an 84 overall, so definitely a playoff contender. But so far, what I've seen, maybe the best defense in the NFC East is what we have here in Washington. And lastly, we have the New York Giants, who, with the botch job that we did with the quarterback in Washington, at least we can hold our head high with what we did here in New York, giving them an X-Factor quarterback. We have the reincarnation of Matt Ryan at a Boston College here in Byron Rudd. 94 X-Factor, a lot better than Daniel Jones. We got Saquon Barkley, who's also been incredible. Wide receiving room, skill position, maybe not the best, probably the worst out of all the teams. Offensive line, though, across the board, might be up there with Philadelphia. Probably the second best offensive line we have going in the division, especially the addition of Bakhtiari and Wyatt Teller over the last couple of free agency periods, really solidifying that right-hand side of the line. But we definitely need the quarterback to elevate his receivers and just let Saquon do Saquon. Defensively, we got the 99 Dex Lawrence in the middle of two solid defensive ends that we've drafted. Rest of the front seven, Kayvon Thibodeau up to an X-Factor, as well as Isaiah Simmons. Secondary doesn't have crazy star power, but the safeties are solid. Deonte Banks is a stud as a 90 overall. And I think that the rest of that front seven can kind of make up for what is not an S-tier secondary, but as an 87 overall. The Giants also enter year 5 of this rebuild as Super Bowl contenders. So with all that being said, it is year 5. It is a free-for-all. We're going to sim just right into the playoffs, and hopefully we get a scenario where all 4 teams, like they were, was it year 2, 11 wins, and finally we get a team from the NFC East. Hopefully not to run into a goddamn Chiefs team to go win a Super Bowl. So right to season's end, and I was not expecting the Eagles to be last place, but look at the division. The Giants are first. 14-3 for the Giants, 13-4 for the Commanders, 12-5 for the Cowboys, and a lowly but still impressive 10-7 for my Philadelphia Eagles. And oh man, what are the playoffs? All 4 of us made the playoffs. Yep. All right. I'd say that's step 1. We just accomplished something there by having all 4 teams, even though every freaking divisional game, we were cannibalizing ourselves, cannibalizing our own success. If the success in this rebuild is measured by winning a Super Bowl with one of these teams, that's still awesome. What do we got for stats? Who did what? Jalen Hurts did not. I guess that's just what Jalen Hurts is in Madden 24. Doesn't throw a lot of crazy touchdowns, but gets good touchdown numbers if you combine the passing and rushing touchdowns, and it doesn't turn the football over, even though he unfortunately turns the football over a lot this year. He's going to get it right this week, IRL against Miami, okay? Don't worry about it. DeAndre Swift, awesome. Probably the second most productive running back in this series after Saquon Barkley. We have Devontae Smith going over 1,000 yards, and just for whatever reason, A.J. Brown's not a thing, because of course he shouldn't be, right? Tackles look fine. Jalen Cutter, 9 sacks, 7.5 for Nolan Smith. That's a good breakout for him. First year as a true pass rusher. Josh Sweat with 6 sacks. 2 picks there from Favors. We have for the Dallas Cowboys. Yep, there you go. Hassan Reddick, 18. What? You're telling me Hassan Reddick can never get double-digit sacks with the Eagles, but he goes to Dallas and gets 18? What? Good for him. Micah Parsons, insanity, breaking the sack record. 24 TFLs, 27.5 sacks. Dylan Orr, the first draft pick I think we had for the Cowboys. Way back when, gets 4 interceptions, leads the team. That's good. CeeDee Lamb and McKinney, 2,000-yard receivers. Again, A.J. Brown can't do that. That's annoying. Saunders, not so much. Even Dak. Dak's get out there in age, though. He's the oldest quarterback in this rebuild, and still, those are definitely respectable numbers from him. For the Commander, 43 touchdowns for the normal dev quarterback. What the? He didn't even play last year. He got the Mahomes approach. Benched his first year and then just becomes a phenom. I don't want to swear too much there. Insane season. Brian Robinson was great. Scary Terry over 1,000. Double-digit tutties for Woodson. Dotson with 7 and Joku with 9. Good God. Kind of hoping the Commanders do something here this year. Jonathan Allen, 10.5 sacks, 8.5 for Chase Young, 8.5 for Daron Payne, 5 picks for Cam Curl. And looking at the Giants, we got 4 picks. Deonte Banks, like seeing that. 12.5 sacks from Dexter Lawrence. Like seeing that. On the receiving, no 1,000-yard receivers. A little bit of a bummer. It's still the Saquon show. 1,600 yards and 19 touchdowns for him. And their quarterback, pretty Jalen Hurts of him. 29 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. Bring my face back now. Oh, man. Big time. Man, just, that's cool. As much as I would rather this be Jalen Hurts, Pretty cool. The normal dev 76 quarterback just got 43 tutties for some reason. Literally, it's inexplicable. We're close to Halloween, spooky season. Is he possessed? Maybe. That is the only answer. MVP goes to Joe Burrow. How is this guy not up there? 40-some tutties gets you a 10? Much I love Jalen Hurts. That's not right. There's something that's just not right. Saquon wins Offensive Player of the Year. Jalen Hurts at 2. We have Defensive Player of the Year goes to Micah Parsons. Hassan Riddick at 2. So just dominate from the NFC East, winning pretty much every award. Brock Purdy gets Quarterback of the Year. That's what, for checkdowns? Saquon gets Running Back of the Year. So Nico Collins there. Micah Parsons, D Lineman of the Year. Cam Curl, DB of the Year. Look at that. Commanders, Cowboys, Giants, Commanders. We crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. So now the only thing left to do is go win a Super Bowl. We have, I guess, technically 4 attempts, but we're going to self-inflict ourselves here between the Eagles and the Giants in the playoffs. I'd love to see my Eagles rock and roll here. 2 very similar teams, 2 very similar performing quarterbacks. And the Eagles handle business. 35-26 to take on the 49ers. The Niners move on. God damn it. Let's hide this thing. So we still got 2 shots. We got Philly and Dallas. Please don't let me, for an hour-long video, have no team from the NFC East make the freaking Super Bowl. Please. That's a bummer. I think overall, I would like to see the Commanders with that ridiculous season go on and be that Cinderella team, but just not built for it. So I'm hoping for a perfect roll here to get the Eagles and the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game, and that is exactly what we get as the Philadelphia Eagles handle the Niners in a low-scoring matchup, 21-14. The Cowboys beat the Bears 24-20. The Chiefs lose, which is arguably more important than any result we just had here. All right. At this point, I will concede the fact. I would much rather this be an Eagles. I will take at the Dallas winning the Super Bowl just so that this all has a happy ending. Dallas is the home team, AT&T Bank Stadium. Now, this is where, we're going to be fair, completely honest, Dallas is kind of regressing a little bit, not getting ridiculous numbers from Dak Prescott, but their defense, led by Micah Parsons and Hassan Riddick, is pretty damn good. Pretty fearsome. They also have Trevon Diggs, who will punish you, get a pick 6. Philly starts off first with the first touchdown. Dallas settles for a field goal. Philly with a long drive converts a touchdown, just keeping Dallas' offense on the field, but Dallas makes the most of their final 2 drives for halftime, getting a tutty and a field goal. Pretty low-scoring third quarter. Neither team really wants it, but Philly does get a touchdown, go up 8. And Dallas in the fourth. Probably looking for a touchdown 2-point conversion, which they get on 4th down. Philly gets an instant score. Dallas comes right back. Both teams coming alive here in the fourth. 4th and 11 for the Dallas Cowboys. They get it and the touchdown. But Philly drives down the field and somehow doesn't get any points, even though they're in the red zone. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Eagles get a touchdown in overtime. Dallas goes for it. Cannot convert. And the Philadelphia Eagles, led by Jalen Hurts, defeat the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott 35-28 here in the NFC Championship game. And the Eagles, baby, are going to the Super Bowl. The pressure's on, though, because if they don't win the Super Bowl, it's going to be their fault. And this rebuild sucks. And the Super Bowl has been set. It's an all-Pennsylvania matchup as the 10-7 Eagles take on the 11-6 Steelers. Philly's a 91 overall, 86, so a much more talented squad. When you look at the Steelers, 11th offense, 22nd defense. Philly with a top 10 offense, 29th defense somehow, with the 89 overall where defense is that bad, which is very disappointing. At least you can't run the football against us. Pittsburgh's strength is they have the number 6 rushing attack. We have the number 9 rushing defense. I feel good. I feel confident. Let's go! Go Birds. Please go Birds. Please. Like, there's no way we lose to the Steelers. They are not good. They're a solid team. We are a juggernaut of a team with an X factor at quarterback, with a pretty good defense, even though our ranking wasn't amazing. X factors all over the place. What do they got? Like a 97-year-old TJ Watt still? But not looking particularly. We need a touchdown here, which we get to cut the lead to 3. It's time to hop in. And I'm playing on a delay. I'm recording this off of my capture software. No, we got to do it right. We just drag this out. I got to get this win. I can't make you guys sit through this. And at least not let me try and get a dub here with my beloved Philadelphia Eagles. You know what would be cool? Maybe we could throw it to 11. A.J. Brown just non-existent in this rebuild. Actually, they put their best corner on him. Maybe we'll look elsewhere. We'll dump this off to Steve Harvey. Why don't you the clock? Got to make sure this is the final drive. Pretty sure any points. You know, we got that hole, too, where we get the touchdown. It's a 1 point. We can handle our business, kick the extra point. Take off Jalen Hurts. Smitty, all 109 pounds of him, gets a good lead block. Jalen Hurts on 51 yards rushing. So that's a play. Maybe we should have slid inbounds to keep the clock rolling. Actually, let's run this one. Swift. Oh, my God. Pancake running right behind Dickerson. Would have loved to see him get a hat there on Minkah Fitzpatrick. But that does what we want it to do in terms of getting the clock just a burning. If we give this ball back to Pittsburgh, we want it to be like under 30 seconds. Like I'm playing Retro Bowl. Shout out to everyone that plays Retro Bowl and or Retro Bowl College. That's the whole strategy. Oh, my God. We got X. Safe grab. Safe grab. Mr. A.J. Brown. Big time. Up to the 5. We should be able to bleed this down as well to about 30 seconds, give or take. First and goal on the 5. Might just keep it with Jalen Hurts. Devontae Smith looks like a good pass here. Maybe DeAndre Swift out the backfield. Out of bounds at the 1. I know this play's not officially in Madden, but I think we all know what we need to do. Isn't it in here? Ah, okay. They need to add it. I don't know why. They're so hesitant to add it. The tush push, the brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it. Because this is obviously the QB6 not the best in Madden. It's actually fucking terrible. It's pathetic. Do we got a read option? Maybe that's what we need. Add the tush push. If I had, put it this way, if you guys knew if I had any pull on freaking Madden, the tush push would be in. All right. If you don't give me the tush push, I'm going to go to the original tush push. The original play that's automatic from the 1. If you've been rocking with me for a minute, and that is a variation of the C4 special, DeAndre Swift. Sit down. Sit down. You got it. Kick the point. 15 seconds. You can see right now, I literally have a tear coming down my eye right now. Yes, I can make myself cry. I took grade 10 drama. Unfucking real! Well, if you guys want to see this again, hopefully this video does well. If you guys want to see me rebuild against myself in another division, do we honor the Steelers' ridiculous come from behind victory? Do the AFC North? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below. If you want to see this ran back again, what division should we do next? Let me know in the comment section below. If it is your first time stopping by, all I ask is to help the channel out with the algorithm, with the YouTube robots. And the only way you can do that is just leave a comment. Say your video's cool. You suck at Madden. F the Eagles. F the Cowboys. Tell me what team you want me to rebuild next. Tell me what division you want me to rebuild next. And a like. The YouTube robots like the likes. And that'll do it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, it's your boy C4 saying peace out. Love ya. Have a good one. I guess, what? What was it? Only way I'll say right now if it was like a George Pickens play. Mike Williams, huh? Probably hurt himself on that play as well. Unbelievable.